This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Aaron asks me about donuts versus bagels, and I ask Aaron about celebrating your birthday.
Woo! Do, 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 do. This is what an Aaron sounds like. Blah, dude. This is a really weird reference.
Got it. Cool. I need your help in knowing what it is.
It's Strangers with Candy. It's the Amy Sedaris show from like the 2000s, the theme song. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
She's amazing. It was amazing. Jerry Blank forever.
Okay.
Yes.
That's Aaron.
Oh, that's
You're Aaron.
Oh, right. And then I'm Aaron. And again, we don't Joey. I'm sorry, guys. This is very difficult when Joey's on jury duty. And this is what an inimitable unicorn rainbow finder Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess. Also, yeah, we just know that we're supposed to make silly sounds and songs, and all other goes to the wayside.
Joey, if you were here, we would try to do something incredibly, remarkably philosophical and mind-bending. But that's the hole that you leave behind.
And instead, we'll talk about silly things.
Yes! Silly time! Welcome to Silly Nonsense. It's not critical, it's silly.
Just nonsense with Aaron and Jess.
We'll rename it.
Just nonsense.
I don't know if there's any housekeeping. There's rarely much housekeeping around here.
Truly.
We keep it pretty tidy. Like we're
we might tidy home.
We do. We're thoughtful about it. We might even send a link to a few Instagrammers that I follow that do really amazing cleaning.
Ooh.
Because I watch car detailing videos and house cleaning videos. It's really inspiring.
Does it deliver? I feel like some of the satisfaction of that type of cleaning is the tactile, you put your hand across the surface and it feels clean, but visually it's satisfying.
It's very visually satisfying. It's like for all you people out there who were like me and in first grade, well, if they still had them, the chalkboard was the worst because whiteboards could get pretty clean, but chalkboards, the teacher would erase it. And not only would there be one little corner with a little bit of chalk left, but there'd be like the chalk smudge all over the green board.
A chalkboard eraser just smears the chalk around. It doesn't erase.
No, it just makes it like chalky. It's terrible. So for all of you out there, there are just like so many TikToks and Instagrams for you. Oh.
Apparently I wasn't recording. That's weird. I hit it, but the numbers didn't go. All right, we'll keep going. Where were we? Yes. So yeah, it's just like really, really hard. And I thank you for helping me through that. So I don't know, Jess. Oh, right. Rate, review, subscribe. It might seem perfunctory that we say it, but do it because we're talking into a tin can otherwise. So Jess.
Aaron. Hi.
I've got some thoughts. You got some thoughts. Whose thoughts should we talk about first? Because I'm excited to talk about all thoughts.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's flip a coin.
Well, I don't have a coin, but I've got my blood pressure medication vial. Is that
That's perfect? I'll take a lid.
Great. Also, I'm 90. All right, I'm gonna flip this, and I'm sorry, Alex. So heads is the top of the CVS cap, tails is the bottom. You call it, Jess.
I'm taking lid.
Okay, lid. Here we go. Lid. Okay, what happens if it lands on its side?
That's you. That's
okay.
you.
Good job. Okay. So the question that has come up for me, I don't consider myself an Angelino, right? And I feel like maybe every city follows that Sex and the City rule of like, you've got to be in New York for 10 years before you call yourself a New Yorker. And so it's going to be a while before I sort of see myself woven into the fabric of the city. However, I have seen a little bit of weave, and I didn't know this about LA, but it has an incredible donut scene. Like,
this I didn't know.
You know, everybody thinks of Hollywood. They think of like whatever the new health craze is. So I don't know how donuts get lost in the mix, but like you get the LA donut is the response to New York's dollar slice. That's the way that I like to think about it. You will be satisfied. It will be good. But in doing so, I've been thrust into this very silly, very coastal debate in my head and in my household on Saturday mornings, which is, do we try to find good bagels out here, or do we get the best donuts?
Right.
And then, of course, like, I spin out of control and it becomes not about the donuts or the bagels, but it becomes about this comparison, this dichotomy, this forced choice. And it does take me to the question that I'd like to bounce around with you today, which is, why it gotta be bagels versus donuts?
I mean, beyond the obvious distinction, which is that you should never be going to a place that both is hawking donuts and bagels. So you theoretically do have to choose where you're going to retrieve these delectable treats from. But
this is true.
And maybe too, you know, they're theoretical competitors in the breakfast sphere, but you know, it's not like the dichotomy of how, well, I guess I was told that this is a false choice as well, but sweet versus savory breakfast foods, you know, do you go for the waffle and pancake and French toast angle, or do you go for the 2 eggs any style meat and potatoes in some format with side of toast? I think that maybe there's something also about there's something about shared moments that you need to be choosing in quotes because you find yourself in this context. And also, actually, now that I think about it, there's an element of like solid soloness about this choice, right? Like, alone, you probably shouldn't have both a donut and a bagel, even if the donut place is next to the bagel place. There's something about you know, it would be unreasonable to say I want both. And so here we are. I don't know. Is this the assessment you're seeking?
It is. You sort of just like helped me unlock it a little bit, because like, obviously it's never just about the thing versus the thing. It's about like our propensity to want to say that one thing must be right and the other thing must be wrong. Like, it has to be. So like, the one classic video game one is like Nintendo versus Genesis. Like, that was the console wars. That was the whole reason that Sonic and Mario existed, was to try to drive people toward these individual consoles, gain eyeballs, and they were super expensive. So there was a reason there. A household
constraint of consumption. Like, you probably can't afford both. So which did you pick when you had the choice? You're probably not getting both Pokemon unless you have a sibling. Yes. And they were saving up their allowance to get the other one, and then you trade later. So are you going for red, blue, or yellow? You know,
it's and maybe it's the Pokemon-ness, the Sega versus Nintendo-ness that like gets it for me, which is that there's like 3 vectors at play that I can think of. Right. One is like the what you want. Like what you individually want to experience. Do you want to have savory breakfast, or do you want to have sweet breakfast? Spoiler alert, chicken and waffles is always the answer. Get both. Then there's also how you identify. Are you a donut person or a bagel person?
Yes.
And it's so helpful to have these random, like, from a very young age, our preferences are supposed to be the thing that define who we are. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? Like, all these different things are able to sort of like categorize you. So how you identify through bagel versus donut becomes really, really important. And then there's the social element, which is where are your bagel people and your donut people? Like, you might say that you are a donut person individually, and that says something about you, but also trying to find the tribe and reinforce the tribalism that we are so obsessed with, especially in America. It's very, very interesting that we just feel the need to say, no. I must also find the people who can shout about why donuts are the best and help prove why I am right and get me over the right hurdle.
Wow.
Isn't it wild?
Yes, although I suppose you're talking to the vanilla persons. I mean, you and I both, right? Like shouting from the rooftops.
Yes.
How vanilla needs to get more credit. And that is, a part of the ultimate dichotomy, chocolate versus vanilla. Although in that case, speaking of the social element, which I love these vectors, you get to think about things that are pretty practical, like at a, you go to pick up a cake for some kind of a celebration. Like, what's the base, what's your base flavor? You could probably do the split 50-50 if it's a sheet cake.
Yeah.
But that is just, it's
I hate that shit.
And then the remnants of the sheet cake, unlikely to be finished, are then the emblem of where the lines divided, It's like the whole chocolate side is totally demolished and there's still plenty. It's like, oh, we've got vanilla left. You're like, ah.
Which is why I was always happy, by the way. Because it was always that. And I was always like, cool, sorry, y'all. I'm good.
I'll take the corner slice, please. There are still two.
Wow, yes. Are you a corner slice cake person?
Used to be. Now I'm more of an single edge slice.
Yeah, I think that's where I am too.
Depending on the frosting, depending on where this cake is coming from. Spoiler, this is like a little bit creeping into topic 2, but
I'm very excited about it.
back to what you were saying. I think that there's another piece to vectors 1 and 2, the idea of, in this moment, what do you want? And then who are you? Like, what type of person are you? And I find this especially in the moment of brunch, where I think to myself, the long arc of all brunch decision making, every time I choose savory, even though in my mind I'm a sweet person, over time, it creates a new sense of self. And I don't know how it has come to be, but I get the eggs. I choose eggs. And then I hope someone else wants to share a waffle.
Oh, I tend to be not very generous when it comes to food at my plate. And if I were better about it, I think I would just be happier because then I could get a little bit of sweet and a little bit of savory.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For this dichotomy in particular, I do feel that there is an overall social pressure toward the savory. And maybe it's because globally breakfast foods tend to be much more savory than they are sweet. Like, sweetness is such an American phenomenon. And on top of it, we make it like candy sweet. Like, every time I talk to British friends or friends who grew up in Europe in general, actually, and they're like tasting American breakfast cereals, they're like,
what is
how? Why?
This is not breakfast.
This is not breakfast. This is just not. You put marshmallows and highly sweetened corn puffs over milk and you call that breakfast, and you deign to call that nutritious? Like, I get it. It's a unique feature of this country.
Yeah.
But specifically these dichotomies and like pulling them apart, I think that there's, even though I do think that they can be helpful, like if I look back on those moments where I was torn between what I want and how I identify, honestly, I can have these moments where I'm like, why am I so like focused on what other people care about what I'm eating for my breakfast? And what do I just want? And then I realize, oh my God, I don't know what I want because I spend so much time thinking about what other people think of me. It's always that deep, right? Like, it's never just about those two things. But there's also an element of like forced choice is effective by other people to steer you in a certain way. There's a reason the console wars were set up to say either choose Sega versus Genesis. It's because you made it, Sega versus Nintendo. You made it a 2-player field instead of a 4-player field or more. Like, Atari was technically still around, doing terribly because of everything that happened with the E.T. game. Watch that documentary. It's worth it.
No.
Oh, literally, there's like a side track here. There's literally there was a myth of a giant dumpster that Atari had dumped all the cartridges for the E.T. video game that they couldn't sell because they literally wanted to bury it. Spoiler alert, it's real, and a documentarian went there and excavated them all.
No!
Brilliant. And the story behind how the game was made and the early days of video gaming and commercial computing or in-home computing, like it all kind of comes together. Like if you've ever been on a timeline for a project, you will really appreciate hearing what the programmers around this have to say. Wow. Because they're just like, we're literally doing something that nobody has ever done before, and you're asking us to do it in a time frame that I know is impossible. So anyway.
And so was a terrible game that they needed to destroy.
Atrociously bad, embarrassingly bad, may have put Atari out of business. So in any case, these things can be very strong tools to winnow a field. They can take other competitors out. They can also force you to focus on your option. Like, why do we even say that donuts and breakfast have to be breakfast food? I would like to have a donut at night. Have I had them at night? Yes.
Yes.
Have I had them for lunch? Yes.
Probably.
Yes. These are things that don't need to...
I just think, if you're thinking about it from like a competitive standpoint, from the donut producer, let alone the donut consumer, it seems clear that, I don't know, it just makes good market sense to choose the other one that is less competitive. For instance, there was that whole brouhaha about the bagelry outside of San Francisco. And they were like, are the best bagels in California? And everyone in New York City was like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? Yes. Competition alone should mean that the bagels in New York are better. But if you're the best bagel for miles and hundreds of miles, it's like, well, then this makes a lot of good sense if you want to be the one bagel place that's like kind of fine in Los Angeles amidst all of these, where the baseline of donut is so high. I don't know. There's something to that.
There is. Maybe there is.
It makes me think though that still, if you are going to choose one out of the blue, your after dinner donut excursion, pick a random donut place on the map, and it's still probably going to be better than any of the bagel places, just by the nature of, what the people want.
Yeah. Yes. Like, another one that gets forced, another kind of like coastal silly one is In-N-Out versus Shake Shack. Like, those for burgers.
Totally different utilities as well.
What I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of these things are brought up to like, and actually, I think if LA were more intuitively known for the donut as New York is for the bagel, I think that it would play the same role that the In-N-Out versus Shake Shack debate used to play. Now there's Shake Shacks here,
which is just LA. Like a coastal pride thing. Got it.
Total vector for like, do you like sun or do you like gray skies all the time and snow slush that comes up to your ankle when you're just trying to get to work?
It's the identity symbol. There it is. It strikes symbol. Again.
It does, and
it's not just the burger; it's where you're eating the burger and the whole. Yeah.
And like why the burger came to be and like all that. And I this is why I think that it's great. Like this is why I asked the question, why it got to be bagels versus donuts. Like I don't think it needs to be asked. I think it's actually more interesting to ask why the question is ever asked, why these things get brought up, because I think there's something interesting underneath and something to be learned from both sides. And I think that's where you enrich yourself and you realize, no, a bagel could also have lox on it, or a donut no, a donut could have locks on it. I was trying to make a point about.
I suppose a donut could have locks on it.
Be pretty bad.
I think we should close with you sharing your donut of choice in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And what donut advice could you give for those who live there or visit?
I'll make this very truncated as best as I can because I'm really, really succinct.
Of course.
Advice I have is like whenever you see a donut place, go ahead and have it. Know that and look into the history of Cambodian immigrants in LA around why donuts are such a thing out here. It's not just by happenstance. It's actually, in the interest of creating collective economies and to support an immigrant community that's moving to the U.S. In the wake of genocide and really, really terrible things.
Whoa.
So whenever you see one like a Winchell's on the corner, the place that's between the pawn shop and the laundromat, it's gonna be a good bagel. Good donut. See?
Donut. Dang
it's so
it. I know. It's
every time.
I did the same.
So that's one. My favorite donuts are from Danny Trejo. He's got a donut and coffee shop on the corner of Highland and Santa Monica in Hollywood. It's the only location, I believe. And most of the donuts are vegan as well. So for all of my lactose intolerant friends, hurrah, huzzah. And specifically, I think I really like their margarita donut is really unique. It's a little bit intense, but if you're going for a donut, you're not going for something light. So like hit it. It's very limey, very like gingery, surprisingly. It's got a lot of bite.
Are these fried donuts or cake donuts? I must know.
Good question. These are all fried donuts. All fried. Some jelly filled. The cumpleaños is actually my favorite, come to think of it, because I'm a birthday cake person. Like when birthday cake Oreos came out, I was all over So
interesting.
It's just an iced donut with a yeast risen iced donut with sprinkles.
That's it. Should have said yeast versus cake. I think both involve frying.
Indeed. But then other, honorable mentions, I think Bob's Donuts is fantastic. They've been around since the 50s. They're in, oh my goodness, what is the name of the place that they are in? It's the famous mall over by Beverly Boulevard. Oh, I'm going to keep talking through this as I look it up. Bob's Coffee and Donuts is at the Farmer's Market. Farmer's Market, which is also it's like a mile away from Hujima-What's-It's, the guy I was just talking about. Danny Trejo's place. I also do recommend Randy's Donuts. Everybody's very familiar with the iconic boy holding the giant donut over his hand. It's in Inglewood. One of them is in Inglewood, and it's a very classic roadside attraction place. It looks like a hole in the wall, but the donuts are very good. They're very solid donuts. I recommend it.
Trust the taste of the donut.
And if you're feeling, you should. And if you're feeling particularly indulgent when you're flying into LAX in particular, you can get in line to that In-N-Out, hop in an Uber or Lyft, just let them know you're going to wait in line because it's going to be a line. That one on Sepulveda is always forever. And then continue on, go pick yourself up a donut at Randy's. You will wait in line there as well. It's cash only, so bring your cash. Do not be one of those rubes who shows up. Also get there early because they sell out.
Mustn't be a rube.
Don't do that. But I think that all three of those, you're not going to be mad. And then, your 24-hour donut and coffee places here and there. I keep on mentioning Winchell's just because they're very well known and a pretty big chain. You won't go wrong there either. Go enjoy donut.
So
and I have also explored the bagel shops in LA. Woefully disappointing, but
of course,
strong honorable mention to Bell's Bagels in Highland Park. They get it the closest to right that I have seen so far.
We've, I think, on the show talked before about the bagel consultants.
Oh yes, but revisit.
The people who have, like, I think they're from New York, or they were at least trained in bagel making in New York, and they go around other parts of the country and teach people how to make bagels better.
So
who have all these bagel shops, and it's like, wow, genius.
It is perplexing how bad a bagel can be.
Yeah, it's truly shocking.
I mean, yes. Next time I get to New York, I'm an Essa bagel boy. I will always stand for Essa bagel. I love it hot. Like when they steam, when they're so hot that the bag is steaming. Oh my
great.
God, those are good. Yeah. Anyway, this has been a good wrap up corner. I think we wrapped it up.
Get your donuts, get your bagels.
Yes, do it now. That's it.
Aaron.
Jess.
Next week is my birthday, which kicks off a season of birthdaying.
Yes.
And perhaps unlike some of my peers, maybe, I don't know, I just never grew out of the idea of celebrating my birthday with a birthday party. I just don't know if I personally believe in the idea that there's a time where you should stop caring about your birthday and that it's not a big deal. I understand that there are plenty of people who choose not to make a big deal out of it, and I think that's also totally reasonable. It's just, I feel like people should be able to do what they want with their birthdays, but it is interesting approaching in my household what is like the birthday season and trying to figure out what is the appropriate way to approach said birthday season, if not for your own enjoyment, but also just for what is going to be enjoyable for other people. If you're the type of person who likes to celebrate your birthday with other people, I consider myself one of those people. And I think that's where the themes come in, right? Because when you think about sort of the youthful experience of a birthday party, you think about a theme, and then like the party itself embodies that theme in a number of different ways. And are there birthday party themes that should be different for adults? Like, what is the party structure that could be more reasonable for adults? And even besides all of that, does it even matter if you're the type of person who just wants to have whatever birthday party you want to have? And all of this is just on my mind, and I would love for your weigh in, Aaron. How should we celebrate our birthdays?
I'll start with a thought that I've heard and I just deeply, deeply believe in. And it's the thought that we should say the things at funerals earlier to people.
Yeah.
We should not wait until that moment.
Till they're not there.
Till they're not there to celebrate and say why they're awesome and share how much we care about them. That should be every day. And we should always be seeking out the opportunities to make sure that we're doing that. And that's why, and I think between the two of us in particular, we're both birthday people. Like neither of us are womp about birthdays. We both know a lot of people or select people who are womp about birthdays. And I respect those. I just have to, call out that the idea of celebrating one's birthday, I understand, is not a foregone conclusion. There are some people that don't like to celebrate it, and there are some that for other reasons choose not to celebrate it, right? Mm-hmm. All that being said, I think that every birthday should be a party. I think that it doesn't matter. And it can be a party of 1. It can be a party of 5. Yes, Nev Campbell. It can be a party of aliens if you want to actually have a theme to it. But I do think that it's not about, to me, celebrating like the passage of time, but it is about celebrating the things that bring you joy. And that should be it, right? Like,
right?
That's
well, and
it.
This is the thing that is interesting to me is that between your, like, basically when you're born, people even will celebrate your birthday according to a very specific structure for like a limited cap of years where it's that theme party and maybe, all the decorations are aligned to that. And, there's like a way of doing your birthday, and there's a very formal structure for that. And then there's some mystifying drop-off period that maybe aligns also with other devastating realizations about false fictional characters, or just like other things that sort of fall down, and then like the hard truth of adulthood is live. And I think that what you're talking about, of like, for instance, the example of the type of celebration of life that a funeral sometimes is, like, how come there isn't an equally appropriate adult birthday structure like that?
Yes.
Like, there's no blueprint after 12?
Nope.
I don't know, 15?
Well, I feel like there are some interesting tropes in those phases.
Okay.
I feel like there's the big, there's like the phase maybe before 12, where it's like big kid themed birthday parties. You invite all the kids from school. It's very stressful for all the parents. But it's great because all year round, you're seeing all of your friends over and over and over again, which is great. And then it's like around middle school, it's like things get weird because like you start to choose your friends and you have different interests, and you're like, I don't want them there. I want them there. And all that sort of stuff happens. But then you've got, I think there's some gap. I don't know what to call those high school year birthday parties, but they existed for sure. Then there's the college birthday parties, in America in particular, not over the top as far as like messy.
I was gonna say, sorry, in middle school and high school, maybe there are the sleepover years.
Yes. That's when the Never Had I Ever Have I Ever, and the not the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. What's the thing you say into a mirror? Oh, the Bloody Mary thing. I don't know.
Oh no.
Oh, Catholic school in the Midwest. It's
got it.
Yeah. So then this is what I think is interesting. I think that there are also the years in the 20s, like the unattached years. Then I do think probably the biggest interruptive factor is having kids. I think that's one of the biggest. When the friend group starts having kids, and also when they start having like really, really long relationships, and it's like, okay, people start, peeling off and doing one-on-one dinners with their beau or their boo. And then later on, it's like, well, we've got a kid. Like, we're going to celebrate their birthday, not ours. And you're just tired for all the baby years anyway. So like you just, you've got other responsibilities. And from what I understand, there's also the fact that like celebrating your kid is like it's like the best celebration of you ever, kind of. It's like they're so happy, but also like you are so excited that it's like, this is literally what my life is all about. Like, it's about you. It's about you being safe. It's about you being healthy. And it's about you being happy. And there's no better way to celebrate me than to celebrate you. So it's fun.
Well, right. And all of those different stages map up to 3 bigger picture ones. The first phase where someone else is responsible for your birthday. The middle phase where you are responsible for your birthday. And the third phase where you may or may not be responsible for someone else's birthday.
Yes. And like, I guess, we're young whippersnappers. I'm not gonna pretend like I really have that much insight into what comes after those stages. But like, I do think that there's another phase of like, I've observed it with my parents, of like, kind of, not because you spent so much time celebrating your kids' birthdays or others' birthdays, that then like you just assume that no one's celebrating your birthday, and you just sort of move along. And my parents get so excited and appreciative when it's like, of course I'm calling you for your birthday. Why would I not? It's your birthday.
It's your birthday.
We're very excited that that we get to celebrate you. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and it especially becomes more appealing when you hit a stage where your age is actually something worth celebrating. My Abu turns 100 this year.
Yes.
And it's a big deal. That's
a like, huge deal.
Good, like, congratulations on your like another birthday. Wow. That is amazing.
It's so true. And I think that like, I don't know how popular it is to necessarily still do those like over the hill and, you know, those sorts of dumb things. They're terrible.
Like, you're getting old now.
Yeah. And I do think that like, yeah. Thanks. I'm marching closer to it. It being ultimate demise. So I think that like those things, those like stupid, like, let's make fun of you for being old jokes are so dumb. Like they're just dumb.
That's wrong.
And
that's wrong.
I also, to the point about like hitting 100, like hitting 40, hitting 50, hitting 60, these matter. Like all these years matter because it's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to be able to see them all through.
It's true.
And so just like a lot of this too is colored by the fact that like I'm I don't know if you know this, Jess, but I am gay. I am a gay. And when going through getting married and all that, like the time during which I got married was like the specific window in which we moved from it not being illegal and yet socially acceptable to being legal. And all of the tensions that came with literally those few years of shift where it's like, why do we want to do something the way that those people have always done it? Because we've always had the freedom to define our relationship, define us in our own likeness in the way that we want to. And I think similarly, like I apply that lens to every celebration, like to birthdays, to everything. It should be done I recognize that like there's tradition and tradition is important to a certain degree, but I fundamentally believe that birthdays should be weird and unique. They should be because they're about what you want.
Yeah.
And everyone else having a moment to appreciate the kaleidoscope that is the uniqueness that is you in all of its trappings.
Yeah, and like actually fair point why the wedding somehow has become a proxy for some people just being like, I want to have this giant party that is a reflection of me, but I guess also my partner because this is like a socially acceptable venue to go all out.
I mean,
like what if you want to do that for your 40th birthday? You want to just have like a crazy, gigantic fiesta.
And I will say, I do see in the queer community at large, there's always been that sort of sensibility. It's the chosen family nature of queerness. Yep. And so I'm excited because we've got a lot of like protracted 40th birthdays from COVID that are now like being planned for the very near future. And I'm very, very hopeful that I can also participate because now we get to celebrate each other. And it's like, no, let's have fun. Let's wiggle our
This is the great thing.
Elbows. Yes.
Bar and Bat Mitzvah season part 2 of our own creation.
What if we just
make birthdays equally fun?
Literally.
Yes.
And also don't wait till the end of your decade. Like just make it now. Like this next one is the one.
32, go for
it. Like that's, I agree. Zipping bomb. Zip, bang, boom. That's actually what I meant to punctuate with.
Thanks for your supportiveness, Aaron.
I'm really excited
about this.
You should, and it shouldn't be understated. Happy birthday, Jess.
Thanks.
Yes.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by Dawn Power Wash, but not for real because they're not a sponsor of the show, but that stuff cleans everything. Baseboards, you can put it on like leather, you can clean your car without having to make a bucket of water, you can clean windows with that stuff. Dawn Power, that stuff is unreal. I love it. I mean, brought to you by them. Yeah, sure.
We'd like to thank Aaron Powers and his enthusiasm for Dawn Power Watch. Thanks for being a host of the show.
And Jess, thank you for not only being a host, but also being an executive producer of all the shenanigans, be they donut or bagel. What else are we brought by? We'd also like to thank sound engineer and donut king, Alex Contel.
Speaking of Donut Kings, thanks to our programming coordinator and sweet tooth extraordinaire, Les Jacobs.
And two people who deserve a birthday party every day, every minute, every moment, every year, Nora Mestrich and Sarah Gilbert. Thank you for being the production crew.
Thanks, Ellen.
I'm so sorry, Ellen.
Special thanks to the University of Michigan Alumni Association for directing funds to create Bagel Wednesdays. I really hope you still do that because, feeding people bagels. Give the people what they want. Bagels are what they want, except for donuts. Sometimes they want donuts too.
I give them both. I'm just saying. But also just as an aside, they used to have, and I'm sure they still do, a fantastic older alumni like travel group. My dad has been all over the world through U of M's alumni group. So like, just saying, get ready for your 80th birthday because it's going to be in Tanzania. I'm just saying.
Oh boy, you get to hold a big Block M flag somewhere.
Yes, they did it in Cuba and it was very, very cool.
While we're on this subject, can I just add one more special thanks to Bagel Fragel? A lesser known outpost in the North Campus of Michigan's Ann Arbor space, and they have this impossible to describe. I'll attempt it. It's a cinnamon raisin. It's a cinnamon raisin bagel rolled in cinnamon sugar.
Whoa!
So it's probably the closest thing I can say to like a cider donut meets a bagel.
Wow.
And I would say this, if nothing else, is the epitomized concept of not having to choose this false choice between donut and bagel. Try it.
I will. I definitely will. Also, did I name a bagel place? Because that sounds like a name that I would come up with. I'm just saying, Bagel Fragel? Really? That is the most Aaron thing I've ever heard on an establishment in my life. I definitely want to thank I want to thank donuts. I mean, I know that I was making this whole thing about like it shouldn't be a dichotomy, but I'll just say I love donuts. I love donuts. And to come to a place and be surprised by an amazing donut environment, man.
Yeah.
I am
An amazing donut environment is something we should all be striving for.
Yes. And also thank you, CVS, for my blood pressure medication. We know what it's for now. The irony is not lost on me at all.
Look, we've come around full circle.
It's true.
Thanks to the treats and to birthdays and to you all.
Yeah. And I do have one.
Okay.
Thank you to the attempt at making birthday cake flavored stuff try to be a thing. I'm really, really glad to see that it's very close to being over because it's not. None of them are good. A birthday cake protein bar is not a birthday cake. A birthday cake ice cream, not birthday cake. It's ice cream. And as one with sensitive teeth, that is a really rude comparison to make. Birthday cake cookies, not birthday cake.
That's a cookie.
That is a cookie, not a cake. So let's leave the birthday cakes for the birthday cakes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Oh, I've got one more really quick thanks. I'm sorry. You kept me going. I would like to thank Hacks on HBO, or I'd like to thank HBO for greenlighting the 3rd season of Hacks. That's what we're gonna do. Because if you haven't seen Hacks with Gene Smart, it is fantastic.
Okay.
It is. I'm not gonna say anything else other than
Great.
If you want to
Watch
laugh at great comedy writing, it is great and watch it. There it
is. We love a recommendation.
Indeed. I think I don't know. I got on a roll. Is that it?
That's probably it. No, that's it.
I see. Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom, for not getting chocolate cake and for only getting vanilla cake.
For making me vanilla cakes.
Yes.
That's probably it.
See you next time, Jess.
See you, Aaron. Credits.
Are you gonna be Joey or am I gonna be Joey?
No, you should be you.
I should be
You're
me.
You.
Okay.
Sarah Jacobs and Les Gilbert.
I really did do that, didn't I?